Hello, everyone. Welcome to Snap Take. This is Glazer of Snap Judgments, the official podcast of Marvel Snap Zone. Snap Judgments League Season 2 has just wrapped up as of today, as of recording, yesterday, as of you watching this. We have the top 4 decks, which is the top 4 places, which is really the top 5 decks for you to take a look at. Let's get started with a deck that lost in the top 4. This is Bishkona's top 4 list. This is a Noki list. This is the Noki list that, honestly, that we were playing, right? 1 card off, I believe. This is basically a version of either Tanjo's or who's the other person? Tanjo or Safety Blade's Noki list. That is perfectly acceptable, still capable of winning, still a top-notch deck, as proven by this very tournament. This finished in the top 4, and it very easily could have made the finals, except Shadow King liked to be a card hiding at the bottom of the deck against a Surfer matchup. All right, Bishkona is also known as not a duck, goes by the name Not in game, and then uses the title Not a duck. So we've seen alt versions of this for weeks, and I'm not going to go through individual card replacements, but card replacements include Shang-Chi, Snowguard, Coulson, and Quinjet, Debris and Cannonball, Red Guardian, Ravonna, Valentine, Cape Mirage, Ms. Marvel Claw, Morph, White Widow, Titania, Green Goblin, Cosmo, Juggernaut, and Jean Grey. There's a million ways to go with this list. A ton of people have been playing it. If you've watched my videos before, you know this is one of my favorite lists that I play all the frickin' time. All right, so Noki in the top 4. Turn 1, you play Kitty. Turn 2, you want Angela or Thena over Jeff. Sometimes they have Red Guardian, you just eat it. Turn 3, unless you had Thena out or have Thena and Kitty in hand, you're going to drop Elsa. If not, you're going to go 2+1. If you have Thena, sometimes it's good to play Jeff or Angela first, and then go Thena plus Kitty on the next turn as a way to sort of make sure that Thena gets that pump to keep it a little bit safer. Elsa is also obviously perfectly fine here. If you had that 2+1 play, then you're going Elsa +1 the next turn to fill a lane and start buffing that Kitty. And that's better than your other 3s in general. Turn 4 is 2+2 or 3+1. We're talking Thena Jeff, Angela Jeff, or we're looking at hopefully Elsa Kitty, but that can also be Luke, Mobius, Nocturne, Kitty are all perfectly fine. You can Killmonger at this point, but generally speaking, if you're going to Killmonger, you want to save it till later in the game for cube equity. It's here for that otherwise really, really frustrating Zoo matchup. If you're playing that Zoo matchup and they get down a Kyara, then so be it. But if they don't have that, you're in really good shape. U.S. Agent wrecks their other cards while you have a really good shot at winning the game by killing all their 1-drops. All right, turn 6 is meant to be Sage, Shadow King, Kitty. That will not trigger Elsa, but it's usually enough power. As long as Kitty's that will not trigger Thena. As long as Kitty is more than 3 power, you're still getting the same power you would get on Thena, just elsewhere. Be careful with your ordering here. Remember that Shadow King will not lower your card's power if you have Luke Cage out and in effect. This is the list. It's really good. It's really powerful. It's really consistent. Again, I think Killmonger is a really interesting addition here. Killmonger and Mobius are like your generally speaking swing slots. I think everything else more or less really, really wants to be here. And remember, no U.S. Agent. Please run Shang-Chi because you need something to handle the bigs of the game. Cool. All right, let's keep it going. But first, would you like to participate in the Snap Judgments League with hundreds of the game's best players? If so, the next season is kicking off on July 8th. Check out patreon.com/snapjudgments if you're interested in joining. I don't think you'll be sad to do so. It is 1 game a week. It fits into your schedule, and you get amazing Marvel Snap competition. If you love Marvel Snap, this is for you. We also have $500 in prizes for the next season. Keep it here on these videos. Well, I'll tell you when signups are ready within the next couple of days. Check out the Patreon. Join for as little as $1 to get access to the league, or hop on the Discord linked in the description to this video. Any of those will get you invited, or you'll get all the information for the next season of the Snap Judgments League. Our other top 4 deck is Jimmy Dickens. Dickens is a phenomenal player with top 4 Debut Redux. This one lost in the top 4. It's a really cool list. I did a closed deck list in the tournament, so I did not at all expect Cannonball here. Cannonball won a game for Dickens and almost ended up taking things out, and then could have won another, but was played around by his opponent. But that's why this is debut. This is a really cool list. Note the Pixie with no Coulson. It's just saying I'm going to go Pixie, and sometimes that's going to make my like cards great. And most of the time, even if it does nothing, I'm perfectly fine just playing on curve. This deck works fine. Dickens doesn't have any social media at all, but you can find Jimmy Dickens in like KX4N, Woody, Husky Puppies. They all hang out in around the same chats with like Dickens, but a few others. So if you ever want to find Jimmy Dickens, that's where you would look if you want to talk about this deck. I don't think you need Pixie for this list. Jeff, Cable, Hope are fine. Same for White Widow, although she's particularly good with Debris, so she's a little better for the list. Annie and Sersi can be Lady Deathstrike and maybe even Valkyrie. I wouldn't play this without Annie and Sersi, though. I could replace one with Lady Deathstrike or Valkyrie, not both. Mockingbird is absolutely a must for this list. Mockingbird is, I argued a few weeks ago on the podcast that Mockingbird was one of the best cards in the game, better than Red Hulk. I think the way the meta is shaking out is bearing that out. I think Mockingbird might be the best card in the game. When we did that big ranking, we had it below like Red Hulk and stuff. I just think that's wrong. I think that like we're going to see Mockingbird in a lot of the rest of these decks. Fair warning. Nico can be Iceman, but that is way worse. Nico offers a lot. So turn 1 is Hood. Turn 2, Pixie, which is going to kill the turn order if you play Pixie. That's over Mysterio, which is over White Widow. That will lead into Mockingbird, generally speaking over Debris, depending on how cloggy your opponent is getting and what other locations are available. Turn 4 is either Sentry or start to play some go wide cards. At that point, you would like to play Sersi or Annie and then end with a Cannonball. Fairly often, that Sersi ends up on the last turn. Sometimes you'll like Annie and then still end up Cersiing a different lane where you have like cards like Pixie and Mysterio and Debris, and you're perfectly fine just bumping those cards up and then letting another lane be won by, say, a Void. Cool. This list is really simple, puts out a lot of power, and is very effective. It is 100% worth checking out. If you would like to see these decks played, well, first of all, if you want to see the actual end of the tournament, please do check out It's Guess Gaming. We're going to say that again at the end. It's Guess Gaming streamed these and did commentary over on Twitch, so you can find it as a Twitch VOD. You can also find this on It's Guess Gaming's YouTube if you want to watch the games that were in the Final Four for the tournament. However, today is Monday, which means Gregor2424 at noon Eastern will be streaming these decks, figuring out which one he likes best, and then making a video about that one for tomorrow morning. So please check out Gregor2424. Tomorrow, we'll have some decks for the great Prashaun. All right. But played 2 different decks. But beat Jimmy Dickens. They're very good friends. But beat Jimmy Dickens and made it to the finals. This is the top 4 butt deck, but not the finals butt deck. The finals butt deck is also the one that is currently being played on Infinite Ladder at number 1 right frickin' now. Literally as I'm recording this. We'll talk more about that later. But for now, this deck I think is super duper cool. I'm actually playing a version of this that's like, I believe, 2 cards different. Because this was originally created by KX4N. You can find KX4N at twitch.tv/KX4N. Literally, the instant KX4N started streaming, we featured so many of his decks. He's really great at this. But took that shell and changed a few cards. This is a relatively cheap deck. You need Lady Deathstrike, Sersi, and Mockingbird. Cool. Deathstrike is needed if you're going to run Death. Sersi can just be a Nihilus if you must, and you'll be fine. Nico can be Iceman, it's way worse still, and then Mockingbird is required. Cable is in this list as a change for X23, which KX4N had. And then I was like, hey, what's up with Cable? Why not White Widow? Why not something else? And the argument is this. Ready? Cable gives you a lot of early information, but it also gives you a snap condition. Against decks like Surfer, if you get Surfer, you can snap. If you get whatever else, you can just stay in. Sorry, you can even bluff snap. So let's say you Cable and you get something of good but not incredible use. You snap. If they are smart and good and they're trying to respect that you're a smart and good player, which some people do and some people don't, they should usually run on that Cable snap if they're playing a combo deck. And you'll know if they're playing combo deck based on what you pull if you know the meta, right? So you pull that card and you snap. If they stay, that means they already have their combo in hand. And if they already have their combo in hand, you know what to play around. And that gives you all sorts of cube equity. Whether you decide to stay or run later, you know exactly what you should be trying to play around and beat at that point, which is amazing. Love that perspective. Really good stuff from Butt. All right, so top 4 won, but not played in the finals. Turn 1, Hood or Squirrel Girl. Squirrel Girl means I don't have Mysterio, but I would like to get that Mockingbird out. Turn 2, Mysterio is generally better than Cable. Again, reverse that. If you went Squirrel Girl, then you can go Cable. It's perfectly fine as the turn 1, turn 2 play. If you went Hood, I would generally prefer to go Mysterio. Turn 3, Mockingbird tends to be over destroy stuff, or we're setting up for Sersi / Deathstrike. Turn 4 is Sentry, or same concept as turn 3. Then turn 5 is Sersi or Deathstrike. Sersi to make a hopefully unbeatable lane, or Deathstrike to set up a cheap death. If you set up a cheap death, sometimes you can even go end of the game Death and Sersi, or Mockingbird and Sersi, which is just insane. But even if not, you'll Carnage to clean up like a bunch of junk and still drop Death and be perfectly fine. Or play Sentry and then play Death and like keep that lane full with Sentry, so on and so forth. There's a lot of ways to get a ton of power out like that. This deck is really, really cool. I've got it in my game right now, and I think it's a stellar list. Hey, it's our last chance, not weekend, last chance review of Makari. Makari 3-4 for anyone who's been in a hole for the weekend. 3-4, Series 5, 6,000 tokens. After your turn, run for your hand to a random location if possible. It is better in Surfer than we thought, and it opens up new possibilities there. However, I don't think the best Surfer decks, we're going to look at the best Surfer deck or the best Surfer style of deck in one slide. I don't think the best Surfer decks want it. It's actually good in Sandman, and then there's one other spot. If you really, really, really love Moon Girl shenanigans, it is excellent at making those decks more consistent. I don't think it's required for those. I think it's good for Sandman, and it's good for Surfer. Unless you absolutely love those 3 deck archetypes, please skip Makari. Save, this is, unless you need X23, an easy week to save some tokens. Again, I think Makari is good. I think Makari is underrated. I think Makari is going to go in decks. I think Makari is largely going to be replaceable. They don't release bad cards anymore. You're okay to skip Makari. Alright, speaking of the best Surfer, I think this is a version of the best Surfer. LP Hovercraft played this in the top 4 and top 2. This list won the top 4 match and went to the finals, where it fell to Butt. We'll see Butt's list after this. This is, I think, the best Surfer shell. It might not be this exact 12. You can mess around with several spots here, including Rogue and Hope, but and maybe even Gladiator, but the rest of this is more or less settled. You can find LP Hovercraft at twitch.tv/LP_Hovercraft, with the O being a 0. He's only ever streamed twice, but if you want to support someone who did amazingly in this tournament, that's one way to do so. I asked him where he got this list from. He said from Den's Marvel Snap Zone tier list at some point, which means I know where this came from. This is the Woody-styled Surfer. Surfer used to look very different, and then Woody started going Brood, Absorbing Man into Mockingbird, and it really changed the way everyone plays and builds Surfer at this point. And, well, the Woody version has proven to stand the test of time, coming in second in this tournament, being at the top of the Infinite Leaderboard all the time. It's a stellar, stellar deck that is worth checking out and worth playing. Alright, so Rogue became Mobius for this in the finals, which was a really good switch given what was played in the finals, and really did affect things. Red Guardian and Gladiator can be Juggernaut, Polaris, Cosmo, Nocturne. Shaw is borderline needed. That could also be Nocturne, but whatever. Mockingbird is 100% needed. And if you don't have Hope, I think I might consider running Sarah. If not, look at the list of 3s above. Pick a good 3 and you'll be fine. This was played again in both the semis and the finals. Turn 1 is Nova, and Nova specifically if you have Brood or Absorbent Man, either one in hand, and you don't have Hope Summers. Cool? If you have Hope and Brood, sometimes you'll Brood, sometimes you'll Hope. It's going to depend on the board and the locations, right? But if you Hope, you really, really want that Nova to play on Hope. So it's a little rough. You have to, you'll learn it as you play and pay attention to when you needed that extra energy. If you did play that Nova on 1. Turn 2 is Forge if you have it usually. Forge wants to go into Brood. It's fine going into Shaw, or even fine going into Hope if you realize you must Hope. I've also done it into Gladiator and into Nocturne. Excuse me, Nocturne's not in this. Nocturne's supposed to say Red Guardian. In my head, Nocturne said Red Guardian, excuse me. Red Guardian is specific. Red Guardian is specifically saying there's a specific card I want to kill before it scales, and so I am playing Red Guardian ahead of things that will offer me more later play. Turn 4, Absorbing Man, or a 3 on Hope and Nova. Absorbing Man means you brooded, obviously. Turn 5, if you played a card on Hope, you can drop an extra 3, play that second 3. If not, a 3 and Nova or a Forge plus 3 are fine there. So you can on that turn go Forge and Shaw or Forge and Brood right in turn 5. And once in a while, Mockingbird is nice and cheap, and you're just going to drop a 3 and Mockingbird, which is really nice. If you went like your key, right? Like, oh my god, I'm hitting crazy. Is you go Forge into Brood into Absorb Men. Now your Mockingbird is 1, and now you can play like play, I don't know, Gladiator and Mockingbird or Shaw and Mockingbird, and then you can end with like if you play that Nova Killmonger and Surfer, if not something big in Surfer, and you're perfectly happy. So turn 6 is generally whichever 3, Mockingbird, and end with Surfer. Really straightforward, but really powerful, and has a lot of nuance to it. You'll learn to, and once you play this, it's not like brain surgery, but it is not easy to play. It is one of the best decks in Marvel Snap, sitting at the top of everyone's tier list right now. Hey, this isn't the only tournament going on. There's also Snap Masters 3. The open qualifications happened yesterday. We're going to take a look at that on Wednesday. Wednesday, we're going to take a look at what finished at the top. I don't want to bury the Snap Masters open qualifications, so it's going to get its own day on Wednesday, in addition to other new decks on Wednesday. Wednesday will be a humongous day for us. And then this coming Sunday will be open qualifications number 2. So if you're interested in checking that out, you can and should. This has a $350 prize pool, and then the group stage is July 9th to 21st, with the finals on July 28th. This is a very small tournament, very elite tournament. It's got Sizer, Spyro, FAK Andre Var, I Lawson, Johnson. Oh, I played FAK Andre Var earlier today. Johnson, Streamer Johnson, Twitch Iron, Tori Kun, Desmond, Lammy Series, W, Browtha, Husky Puppies, and I again know who that last person is, but I'm waiting for to get approval to tell you. And then, like, we have our first 3 open qualifications. We will, again, talk all about that on Wednesday's video. But if you're interested, please check out the tournament. The link to how to do that is in the description to this video. Open qualifications 2, again, this coming Sunday. Let's get to the number 1 deck without further ado. Butts Jugmorph. All right, this deck is sick. This is the best deck in Marvel Snap. I'm not mincing words. I'm not even saying I think. I'm not saying probably. I'm like, this is just the best deck in Marvel Snap. So Cam shared this deck first. So let's prop Cam, twitch.tv/CamBestMS. But it's an untapped list with Juggernaut over Jeff. But shouts out Woody for helping him make decisions about what to play and everything else. So the story of this deck. Ready? Right after the Professor X nerf, KM shared this with the like title Please Still Work. He found it on Untapped. It wasn't like anything special. Deck then disappears for whatever it's been, about 2 weeks. I started looking at stats Friday into yesterday, and I could not figure out who made this list. I knew that KM had it, but I didn't think KM made it, so I started asking around. I had these 3 decks. The first deck from yesterday, this deck, and another one I haven't shared yet. It's a Makari list that I think are really great, and I don't know who made any of them. And that's really rare for me. I don't know if you're new here, but like, I'm fairly fanatical about deck credits. I know who made almost anything, and no one knows who made this stupid list. So as I'm discussing this, people are like, by the way, check Dexter. Dexter shared this as the new meta tyrant. And I'm like, fuck. Well, I was going to be in yesterday's video, but like now I'm like, well, if Dexter just shared it, I guess I can do without sharing it right now, right? Like, what's the point in sharing it if Cam is sharing it? Cam apparently also did a second video on this, and Dex did it. Like, if you've got your finger on the pulse of the meta, then this is a list that you've seen played recently. Now, we have to cover it when it wins the tournament. So it goes, I start asking, literally, I'm talking to Woody and them about it. They start playing it again. This Butt decides to take it into the finals, right? Butt takes it into the finals. Woody takes it onto ladder. Butt wins. They change 1 card. They take out Jeff and they put in Juggernaut. When they take out Jeff and put in Juggernaut, Juggernaut's insane right now. If you're really good and know what opponents are going to play and can predict what opponents are playing, then Juggernaut is freaking OP. So they put Juggernaut into the list, but wins the damn tournament. Woody takes number 1 on the Infinite leaderboard and is absolutely dominant in doing so. For this list, Nocturne can be Jeff, Snowguard, Bishop, or Wolfsbane. I think the only Sasquatch change is Bishop. I don't think you can play this without Mockingbird at this point. The Mockingbird Mysterio thing is too good. And I think like Sage and Thena are kind of the point of the deck, and Ravonna is how you afford the nonsense you're actually doing here. So I think those cards are needed, but if you were involved in that last Professor X meta, this is the same basic Slayer Blade shell. Like, very similar to the Slayer Blade shell. It's the Slayer Blade shell with a Mysterio Mockingbird Sasquatch package slammed on top, and then it runs Iron Man because Iron Man's a shit ton of power. That's it. That's the list. Cool. All right, so this is the champion, and again, the #1 infinite ladder deck currently, which is just wild. Turn 1, Kitty. Turn 2, Ravonna is better than Angela or Thena. And then you can also Mysterio for Sasquatch or Mockingbird. You're doing that in particular in like a Conquest match where you know they have Mobius. Turn 3 is a 2. Oh, the other reason you Mysterio first is if you think they have Red Guardian. It's like those Mysterios and the clones are 0 power, right? So that if they Red Guardian, that's a 50-50 on your Angela, and it protects your Thena. So that's pretty damn good. All right, so 2+1 or Nocturne on turn 3. That's generally better than Juggernaut, which is more or less equal to Morph. It depends on the board. If they're not playing a lot, you'd probably like to Morph and see if they have some big stuff in hand. If they are playing a lot, you'd like to Juggernaut and see if you can get that early clock. And that's, again, worse than the other plays. Turn 4, if you played 2 cards at least last turn, you could just drop Sasquatch here. Just dropping a 4/10 is nice. This is a good turn for Mockingbird 2, or you can just keep doing more good stuff. Turn 5 is, generally speaking, Iron Man. Again, you can also drop like Mysterio and then another card and then set up a really, really explosive Sasquatch Mockingbird last turn, but you don't have to do that. You would like prefer to get those out on curve earlier. And then turn 6 is generally meant to be Sage and another card or 2 cards. And generally speaking, we're talking Sage, Kitty, and something else. Good? Sometimes it's just Sage and Juggernaut. Sometimes it's like Sage and Mockingbird. It's really, really hard to Sage, Mockingbird, Kitty, excuse me. It's really hard to know exactly what you're going to do, but you just what's in your hand and decide it that way. Also, remember that if you're deciding whether to Kitty or Thena at the end of the game, do you need an extra 3 power on Thena? Is Kitty already 3 power? It doesn't matter if Thena gets 3 power. If by playing Kitty, she is more than 3 power. This is the best looking list in Marvel Snap. It just won the biggest tournament going, and it's #1 on the Infinite Leaderboard. If we're going to go with evidence, I don't see how anything else really has a claim right now, whether it be just like general win rate. This is the deck to beat right now in Marvel Snap play. Congrats to our winner, But. Hilariously, But won. But was my pick, which is just wild. There were a lot of players, and but I thought But's really, really good and stopped playing on ladder this season, but was like top of the ladder last season or the season before. And I was like, if he's got this extra time to focus, I feel like he's going to do great. Also, if you'd like to watch videos of these games, check out It's Guest Gaming on Twitch and YouTube. Certain tiers of support on our Patreon come with on-air thanks. We're going to say thank you to those Patreons, and in addition, remind you that you should join the Patreon on the $1 tier so you can participate in the next Snap Judgments League. Try out tournament play. You never know how you'll do and how much fun you will have. I'd like to say thank you to Abigail Eastlin, Mandatory Burnout, Cables, It Regardless, David G. Wingfield, Direwolf, LAB, FaThorNewman, Good Dog Gamer, This Is the Way, Inc., I Am Frostman, Jay Nevereat, Doomer, Ryan Carter, welcome to the club, Ryan Carter, Kertix Lee, Koire, Pyrophoros, The Goat Seeker, Denman Falcon, Docty, the king of new card content, Fat Nick, Doku, Ginger Prime, Philip Rakovich, Ratko, Haplo, Kenny Loggins of the Danger Zone, Rob Silverman, the notorious Bizza, Xorce V and Skippy G, Tommy Nyquist of Snap Judgments League Season 1, Victory fame, the King of Bros, bro, Black Dahlia, the Great Kazoo, Jessica Gamble, Ryan Woody, Kev Sihora, Luna Chris, another new friend, what? Archangel 3K, thank you Archangel for joining, Louis Antonez, Mod Supreme Models, the one and only Darth Hater, Remus Atala, Ryan Kaufman, Tristan H. Martin, Jason B, Fuzzy Dunlop of the fame, Spectrum Mix, Matt H, DJ Mikey Hijinks, No Frickin' Flex, Ocularis, Mr. Cricksterry, Pretty Damn Chill, Seamus, Spike Jones, aka Jonesy, Two Ties, the Pirate King Tuccrr, who is hopefully getting home safely from his vacation pretty soon, the Homieman, and of course, Gunichi, where the T stands for thank you for running an amazing tournament, my friend. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you tomorrow for a bunch of talk about Fastotes, who I got some thoughts on. Not to spoil too much, but I think I have a take.